Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Bill Angel with us today from OSU Lima. We're talking a little bit about the Ohio Redistricting Commission, and we were talking before we came on. It's almost political instinct that you can't be neutral in this. If you're on this redistricting commission, you're a Republican or a Democrat. Is there any way that you can be?
There's no way. I mean,
right.
Look at one of the things that's happened. This because all states are doing this. Where the Democrats are in charge, the states are made pro-Democratic. Where the Republicans are in charge, they're made pro-Republican. And the only way you can do this, deal with the situation, is to create a non-partisan redistricting commission. No Democrats, no Republicans, just people who are neutral.
And you went back in history because in 2008, John Husted recommended that very thing.
He
right?
did. Yeah, he did. It was the Secretary of State at the time, and Ted Strickland was the governor, and he suggested that they do something about it. And Strickland Democrats were flying high then, and Strickland said no, thinking that he would basically be able to be reelected in 2010. Well, it didn't exactly work out. With the Obamacare election and all that, it didn't exactly work out. The Republicans were back in charge, and of course, we're in the same situation now today.
When you see what's going on with Ohio, and this redistricting commission will say, "Hey, we're doing everything the Supreme Court told us to do." Ohio Supreme Court says, "No, you're not." When you hear that, do you just kind of scoff at that? Or?
I scoff at it because one of the purposes of the amendment that was passed a couple of years back was to make the districts more compact and to not divide subdivisions. Well, they've done the first two parts pretty good. It's that, but the third part has to do with making the districts competitive. And what you have are districts which are basically, I think, with this current setup, it'd be like 80% of the districts will be, or at least 2/3 of the districts will be Republican leaning. And very few Democratic-leaning districts. So it's like 9% difference between the average way the state votes.
I saw some kids being interviewed about it. I think it was Cleveland or Cincinnati, one of the C's, and they were asking them about, and they showed them the map. And the map would have, a circle here and then go up, by Cuyahoga, and it would be all over the thing. And I thought they had the most reason of anybody. They're like, well, shouldn't it be this chunk and this, and do it until you keep expanding your, this district until the population goal is met. But even they saw that you looked at the map and it was ridiculous. I mean, isn't some of this common sense?
Well, you would think so. And the fact is they brought in a neutral arbiter after the maps had been rejected 3 times. They brought in a neutral arbiter, and while they were literally working on the maps, and we're getting to the finish line on it, and had a pretty good map, which was pretty competitive. Republicans passed their own anyway and sent it on and said, basically, tough beans, we're going to do this.
Yeah, Secretary of State Frank LaRose announced that they're going to have a special election in August. When you heard that, did that surprise you, or what?
It's stupid. I mean, it's more expensive to have a special election.
It's more cost.
And so you might as well delay the election to get this thing settled, but they're trying to make an issue out of it. And they're blaming the Democrats. LaRose wants to sue Maureen O'Connor, the Republican judge, and the Supreme Court has
wants to boot her out, right?
Wants to boot her out. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. When you heard this scenario going up, did it remind you of what's going on in New York then with the Democrats?
Democrats, same way. Democrats created this weird congressional districts. For example, Staten Island has always had its own Republican representative, always in a Republican district, had its own representative. Well, the Democrats decided to basically also connect it to what's called the West Slope area of Manhattan, which is very liberal. And so this little squiggly line across the ocean to connect to the mainland. I mean, it's stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, and you talk about this, having an independent group do that. Any idea how you would organize that? Like, how would you put together an independent
Well, first of all, you look at people who are experts in maps and know how to do this.
Cartographers.
And people who understand it and are not so much political, or not tied to either political party, or can at least be neutral in it. They look at the profession first and not their political interest.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what happens. I don't think either side's really going to hash anything out in the meantime, are they?
I mean, it keeps going around and around and around. And it does you no good to get into a fight with the state Supreme Court. I mean, that's just nonsense.
Pointing fingers. All right, thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Good seeing you. Don't go away. Medical news coming up next on Noon Edition.